Welcome to Something to Talk About, where I take all this gear that I've accumulated over way too many years of podcasting and I put it to a good use. So with me is Nathan Fleet. Nathan is a award-winning filmmaker. He's also a musician, and he's surrounded by a lot of music gear here, so I'm sure he's in his element. He's an educator, which we're going to talk about in a bit. He runs a film production company called Blue Pick Media, and more importantly, well, not more importantly, but as important, he is also the one responsible for the Hamilton Film Festival. Nathan is very active in the local arts community and is the chair of the Lights Camera Hamilton and is a sitting member on the City of Hamilton's music advisory team. But more importantly, and I'm staring at it right now, he is, I guess, well, as I said earlier, a musician, and he has a rock album called Love Hate City. For someone that is currently living in Brantford, I think I know where the name comes from, but I could be wrong. Tell me where the name Love Hate City comes from.
Actually, the name of the album was supposed to be Talk to the Machine, which is track 4 on the album, I think. And for probably 9 years, it was going to be Talk to the Machine. And then in the 10th year, when I decided to release the CD, I started thinking about the title, and I started thinking more and more about Hamilton. And, over half of the album was about Hamilton, and Hamilton is very much a love-hate city. You could put any issue in front of Hamilton, and like any city, and half the city will love it, and half the city will hate it. So it just kind of in the 11th hour is like, no, you know what? I got to change its title. It's got to reflect the city. So Love Hate City came out. I took a picture of a brick wall down on James Street North, and threw it up in Photoshop, and that was it. There's a cover.
So sometimes those are the best covers, and I got to say, from a typeset point of view, the 4-word square,
Yep.
Obviously works very well from a layout point of view. So congrats on that.
And it's kicking up a storm. Now the gamblers in town and the dice are getting warm. My glass is half empty, and I need a feel. There's music for men for miles around. I'll tell you where things are nailed down. Where there's a way, there's always a way. You get what you pay for. That's what they say. Why do I hate this city? Why do I love this city? Why do I want this city? Why do I need this city? Why do I need this city? Why do I hate? I hate this city I love. I love this city I need. I breathe this city. The tumbles of the roof is just love. Hate.
We mentioned the Hamilton Film Festival.
Yep.
We're going to mention it more specifically, but I want to talk about something that's happening currently. We are currently in the March break, and this is something that you do a couple of times a year. It is the Kids Can Film. Is that correct? Yes, the Kids Can Film. So tell me about the Kids Can Film project.
Yeah, so the Kids Can Film project is a way to get kids engaged with the filmmaking process. There's a lot of parents that, they're looking for stuff for the kids to do, and not every kid wants to do sports. They don't all want the arts and crafts type camp. And theater is close, but to making movies, it's its own thing. Like it's its own discipline. There's a lot of little skills that you can teach these people, these little kids that they learn quick, but they realize that it's like nothing they've ever done before. And being that, I run the Hamilton Film Festival, very passionate about filmmaking, and I've been teaching kids music for decades, literally decades. And I thought, well, let's switch this up a little bit. Well, let's do some filmmaking and kind of see how it goes. So I got hired by a company called the Factory Media Center, a not-for-profit organization, a few years back, and they wanted me to write some curriculum for a film camp. And so I came up with the concept, and then I ended up teaching the classes. And then after that, I brought that into the Hamilton Film Festival and thought, this is something that is needed, because there was a lot of people that asked about that camp. And last year we did 2, and this year we did 4. And the goal is to, keep expanding on that, various ages, have kids be able to graduate, from one class to the next. So that's all in the works. And one of the main things is kids now experience their media on their phones and on their iPads, that kind of thing. The theatrical experience is something that was my generation, right? And yours as well, and everyone before that.
You're saying I'm your age,
but
I'm so much younger.
This whole idea of watching stuff on these little devices is different, and this is how their first experiences are with watching movies or YouTube videos, however they experience that media. So this is a way to get them back into the movie theater, but so that their experience is shared in real time with the person sitting next to them. And this whole script to screen film camp is they make the movie, and then we get them to pretty much organize the screening. They got to do the tickets, they got to do the posters, they got to greet the people at the door, and they do a Q&A after the movie is done. So to have them sitting in a room full of people, 200 plus people, watching their movie, watching the other camp's movie, and seeing all these other movies that the other kids their age made is a whole different experience that you don't just get by making a video and then seeing a bunch of likes on your thing. To be in the room and having people laugh and clap and cheer and ask you questions, it's a different experience for them.
Yeah.
And it's also a good way to get them excited about cinema. To get them to look past some of the blockbusters, and to maybe 5 years from now they take a chance and they go out to the theater and they see an independent film and they take a chance on something that they haven't seen before, or they don't just concentrate on the Star Wars and the Marvels, which I love. But
come on, Captain Marvel is special.
You hope
stellar.
You hope that they get to see some of these other gems that just don't get picked up in the big theater. So it's not just the camp that they're learning the skills of filmmaking. They're getting a little bit more education on appreciation of movies themselves, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do.
I think when you dissect something and you're able to see the pieces that make it up, and especially the amount of people, you go to any major film set, it's bigger than many organizations in terms of size, complexity, logistics, and the list goes on. And that's not even talking about the acting, the directing, the film producing, the video editing, the editing after the fact. The list goes on. And what I love about the modern options that these kids have is, there's a stellar amount of films that were recorded with iPhones.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the cameras on some of these things are beyond some of the things we grew up guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet, and the editing can be done right on there in many cases as well. So the cost of production and the cost of distribution is considerably cheaper than it used to be, but the cost of hustle, I think, has gone up tremendously.
Yes.
And I think people have forgotten the hustle of taking your product, whether or not it's your CD, whether or not it's your film, whether or not it's your idea, and truly hustling it, because the tools are there when you actually need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, you are a pebble in the ocean.
You can't make someone like your movie.
No. Well, first of all, I always say this to my clients when we talk about marketing. You're talking about a percentage of 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 your funnel. Okay, and regardless of what your end product is, at the end of the day, it's a funnel, and there are ways of managing that. But at the end of the day, it's a percentage of a percentage, and the list goes on. to even get one person to see something in this economy, in this time economy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Listen to this for an hour, us having a conversation, that takes time.
Yep.
And these kids are not brought up with a 6-minute plus idea. You give them a 17-minute song, and I'm sure they're going to be losing it after 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. To get to your point there about like the appreciation of time, when we played back the movies that the kids had made after they had been edited, they picked the edits. They picked, we're going to use take 2 of this, we're going to use take 4 of that, and I would do the actual physical editing of it.
So they didn't have to learn a lot of the heavy-duty editing skills right
That
off
was
the bat.
pretty much the only thing they didn't
Okay,
have
because
to do.
that is hard work.
Was just cutting it to there, because there's a big learning curve. That's
Yes.
a class on its own.
Oh,
That's
God,
a,
yeah.
a
I'm
week-long
there,
class.
right, yeah.
You can't have 20 kids over one computer editing, because it
No.
just even thinking about it now just would blow my mind.
I edit in silence with no one around me, trust me.
Exactly. That's the life of the editor. It's a one-on-one kind of class.
Yes.
So
Typically alcohol is involved.
yeah, I'd say.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
A glass of whiskey.
You need something.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they all watched the movie back, and they all had the same reaction. They'd watch a scene, and they're like, "We spent 2 hours, and it just went by in 10 seconds." And they realized how much time goes into just a few seconds on screen. And they all have that same reaction after, as they realized that we spent 4 days of filming, and the movie was done in seconds.
Yeah.
And they have that appreciation, and they realize, which is good. And that's something that they can't get just by watching a movie on their own, or even without learning the process of making a proper story or telling a story, whether it's a documentary. And I say, you don't have to make movies that are funny, or you can tell a story about someone in your community. You can use movie making to raise awareness about an issue. There's a lot of things you can do with it, but to be able to do it properly is what I want them to kind of walk away with. Sure, they can take their phone out of their pocket and shoot in portrait mode.
Yeah.
But look what you can do when you turn it the other way, and look what you can do when you actually move your hands and use your body as a tripod. And they don't realize that that you can do that.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing slowly moving down with your body while you're holding the device actually creates a cool effect.
Yeah.
And
And you're not having to have an entire big rig that does that entire
No.
thing, because the camera weighs 3 times the size of you.
yeah. So they, just teaching them simple little things that we take for granted is rewarding.
Yeah.
You really see that they take it in, and they are quick. Just like today, teaching the camp today.
Yeah, because this is going on right now for
Right
the March
now.
break. Now, there's one coming up in summer.
Yeah, we have 3 in the summer.
3 in summer. Well,
Yep.
there you go. Okay, so this is, the kickoff for a much larger thing coming up over the years. So
Yeah.
continue, please.
So today was yesterday. Day 1 of the camp is writing the script, and it might not seem like a whole day to write a script.
Some people spend a lifetime writing their scripts.
Yeah, but like a 1-page
Yes,
script.
yeah.
But they're learning what a story is. The story arc and the characters, and how to build this kind of thing. So day 1 is the story and breaking down the script. Okay, so your guy sits at a table and has a drink. You have to explain to them that, okay, you need a table, you need a chair, you need to dress that table, you need something for that person to drink, and what are they going to wear? And they're like, whoa, there's a lot
It's
of
not like
things.
writing a book where your imagination has to fill in all that.
Right? They have to fill in all the props. So there's a whole script breakdown that they are all heavily involved with.
Now, do they have to then source their own material as part of it, or is
Yep.
okay?
Yeah. Part of the thing is we don't want them to buy anything. It has to be something you can bring in that you own, something you could borrow, or something we can make. And that's the rule. And so
And there's something to said of having constraints like that. It really does make you not spend money. The old joke, throw money at it.
And
No.
and they're so clever, because right away the thinking cap goes on. Oh, I have this hat. Oh, I have this jacket. Oh, I'm going to bring this. Oh, can I bring that? Oh, I can make this. And they right away it's full on creativity, and no one is left without anything.
Yeah.
They all have an idea. And then production day today, you tell them one time, okay, you get the slate ready. Scene 1, take 2, and you mark it. Quiet on the set. Action. Scene goes on. Cut. First positions. Everyone gets set up back again for take 2. You tell them to do that once. They hear you. You don't like these kids aren't stupid. Like they digest that, and then I don't have to do anything. I actually step back, and they set up the next take, and they're like, "Quiet on the set. Come on, let's get ready. First positions, everyone." And they run the show.
How does the dynamics of who's doing what, like, because that's you typically see it when you bring a lot of kids
Yep.
together. People fall into their
Yep.
normal grooves. Is that structured or is that organic? Is it?
It's a little bit of both. So what and I was just thinking about that today too, is that every kid comes in there with their own personality. And the really cool thing about a film set is there's room for everybody's personality. Like there's kids
It's a big job. We need everybody.
yeah, someone wants a center of attention, they're amazing on screen. Someone is shy and they want to sit in the corner, well, they're great at making a prop. Right? There's a little bit of something for everyone, and they almost just naturally land in their position. But in the camp, we make sure that each kid gets to try something, because they might not understand what a boom operator does, but you put the headphones on them and a microphone, and they hear sound the way they've never heard it before. A light goes off.
Especially when you control the mic and you're now the one, and we have mics,
Yes.
where you're now playing with it and you are now in fully control of what that sounds like, and you're doing that from a distance, and you're balancing that thing and you're hearing it. It's like when you play the guitar for the first time, not through an amp, but you're hearing it, through a proper headset. It's like, oh, I can bend this note and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, audio. God, audio. That's a thing unto itself, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So I make sure that the kids do get to try a little bit of everything, because you don't know what they're going to, gravitate
Yeah,
towards.
and they would have no clue in some cases.
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely.
Now, they don't typically do this stuff in schools much anymore. Like, there's not that AV club type thing. And like, I'm not a parent, so I don't know these things anymore.
There's more and more media classes that are existing because of this, because the technology is so accessible. A year ago, I was teaching through the school system program called Learning Through the Arts. And I would be on the filmmaking side of things, where you go in and based on whatever curriculum they're working on that week or that month in school, you teach them to make a movie about that subject. So it would, vary.
So it's basically vlogging in some ways.
Yeah, it was very limited time, like it's 4 hours basically to come up with something.
Yeah.
About an hour a week. So they are starting to bring that into schools a little bit, which would have been great when I was a kid, because I knew I wanted to get into filmmaking. And, in public school, the closest we got was we had a teacher who brought in 16 millimeter film strip blank, and we got to draw on the cells, and then he ran it through the projector. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's animation, basically, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've arrived. I'm Lucas. But that was really the only thing that happened in public school. And then in high school, there was, I got into drama and I did music and all that, but there's no media making. There's no video making. It just didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, as you say, the cost of, we use the example of Rogers around here quite a bit. The gear at a Rogers studio for the community-based, television that you see, whether or not it's Hamilton or Brantford or Kitchener, the list goes on. That's a very expensive building. You know what I mean? And in many cases, those buildings were built because they were part of a larger facility to service the area and so forth. But when you think about the amount of gear that is in a modern day community broadcast, I have more stuff in my basement that is in some cases better. You know what I mean? It's just that accessible now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a good story is the hardest thing to find and the hardest thing to craft.
Yeah.
Just because the tools are there, doesn't mean that you're going to come up with a great American novel or whatever it may be. But please do try.
Yeah.
Because why not? It's not as if you're having to spend a $10,000 investment. You got people. We were joking about this a few years back. We decided that we would hook up the guitar into the Mac using a Rocksmith USB cable. So this is a cable used for a video game, and we recorded an 18-minute Metallica medley with no amps. This thing was pure from the guitar using a cable that is literally a $10 cable, and that replaced an entire studio.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kids have this. Everybody has this, not just kids. Anybody. Obviously the ones that have the time to learn and the inclination towards the technology will do better. So just to wrap this one up really quickly, they do get to see their show or their finished product at the Hamilton Film Festival, which is celebrating its 14th year.
That's correct.
Coming up on Magic 15.
That's right.
So tell me a bit about that, and then we're going to shift completely into something entirely different.
All right. So, the Hamilton Film Festival is November 2nd to the 10th. and we are in our 14th year. And for the past, I think, 5 or 6 years, we've been showing movies that were made by kids outside of this before this camp started, and it used to be called the Film Club Films. But now we've changed it to Kids Can Film. That's the name of our camp, and the kids will make this movie. And the great thing is, their parents can't get an online link. No one gets to see it. The first time they get to see it, they have to show up at their.
It actually has to be
premiere
a proper premiere.
at a 300 seater in Hamilton.
Wow.
And they come out and they see it and they get popcorn and there's excitement in the room. So it's a proper festival screening for
And
these
back
kids.
to the Q&A at the end with the process.
Yep.
And I got to say, I love that model because one of my biggest influences is Kevin Smith, who you would know.
Yep.
The way you just bubbled up there, I definitely know you know. But one of the things I loved about him recently, specifically when he did Red State, which was just straight to DVD for all intents and purposes, stellar movie. All edited in his home studio on iMovie in many
Fantastic movie,
cases,
yeah.
right? But more importantly, he toured the film.
Yes.
Okay, he went location to location to location, played it, and 2-3 hours of Kevin afterwards, And the value of a $60 film screening versus a $7.99 Tuesday matinee, whatever, was night and day.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It was the full experience. And I think if all you're comparing the movie experience to the blockbuster, I'm there for 2 hours, I get the best CGI I'll ever see, and it'll be well produced, and I'll be excited. That's it. There's no Q&A. There's no lingering, process. And I think that's where the film festivals bring that back.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the film festival, and then let's kick into something interesting.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's not interesting.
No. Yeah. So I started volunteering for the Hamilton Film Festival back when it started, before it was called the Hamilton Film Festival. So
Okay, so this predates you. I want to be
Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't.
We're old, but we're not that old.
That's right. So it was a few different screenings at a theater in Hamilton called the Staircase Theater, and they were running film screenings back at a time when there were no indie film screenings around. There really wasn't. The Art Gallery was doing a experimental program, and the Staircase had this theater. They bought an LCD projector, they had a VHS machine and a DVD player, and
works.
I could go there and watch indie films. I didn't have to get on a bus anymore to go to Toronto to see films, and I would do that weekly. Get on a go bus and watch independent Canadian films. And then
there's very few of those in Toronto anymore. Like the amount that are around are significantly less than when we were experiencing that.
Well, there's actually an increase.
Is there?
in
Okay,
festivals.
yeah. In terms of the individual studios or in terms of the festival increase?
Oh, festival increase.
Okay, I was thinking more in terms of the places that you would just go and see stuff that's kind of just, the private studios, for lack of a better term.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, there's definitely an increase in festivals.
Okay.
And so I got involved at the Staircase taking tickets and then, pressing play on the movies. And then they sat me down and they're like, we want you to be involved. We should create a proper festival. What do you want to call it? And I said, why don't we just call it the Hamilton Film Festival? Now, this is a time when Hamilton was not popular. Like
You're telling me Hamilton's popular. Sorry, I'm in Brantford.
You're in Brantford, so I get it. But in Hamilton, there's this whole thing, people are migrating from Toronto, going to Hamilton, saying,
we
oh my
have it
God,
here as well. The
Hamilton's
price
wonderful.
Of,
and
it's compared to Toronto, it's spectacular. You got grass.
That's right.
You can actually go and walk somewhere.
So you understand that.
Oh,
Like,
I live in Brantford.
yes.
Trust me, I got the Grand River a block away from here.
Absolutely. So you get that whole sense of, Hamilton wasn't, you didn't just name things Hamilton. It was just, this is where I'm from. I don't want to drive to Toronto anymore. We're the Hamilton Film Festival. So, years went on and I was involved with programming and I would run a couple of the nights. And then in 2008, the Staircase Theater said, we want you to become the director of the festival. We want you to, your vision, whatever you want, go with it. So I did, and I opened up more screening opportunities for people. And it was interesting because people in Toronto at the time couldn't get screenings in their own city. So they started coming to Hamilton.
Just like they can't afford the houses, they didn't have enough pull to get into the...
Our year 3, 4, 5 was dominated by Toronto filmmakers.
I believe it, yeah.
Word of mouth got out.
Well, ease of access or ease of entry, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
At least you're getting seen in some cases.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what happened. And then once the online film submissions kicked in, we had this large fan base of people, mostly from Toronto, that expanded across the world, and all the feedback was, oh yeah, our producer from Toronto told us we should submit to your festival, and someone went to school there, and it just blew up. And then in year 10, our 10th anniversary, I actually took the festival over. So it was the Staircases. They gave it to me. They're like, Nathan,
now
it's your
it's
baby.
yours,
now it's
right?
mine.
Okay.
And then from there, I expanded it into more theaters, and then I expanded with the training sessions. Like, so I do workshops throughout the year, the kids camp. So it's really expanded into festival learning, a lot of industry development. We have a festival market that's attached to it now. So we're just
So it's got a bit of that South by Southwest mix of a few different things, if you will.
Yep.
Which is
Absolutely.
when you're pulling that many people with similar problems or similar
Yep.
issues or similar concerns or similar goals or whatever. Add on, upsell, always upsell.
And the thing too is, every time I'm adding something to the festival, it's got to benefit people. Like, it has to be, and myself included. Like,
You're
to
doing
be
it. You got to
selfish,
enjoy it.
To be selfish, I don't want to go anywhere else to meet the industry. I want the industry to come to me.
You're like me in my basement.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
Well, set up a panel discussion,
Yeah.
set up a whole day of panel discussions, and I get to benefit from that as well. I've got work from panelists that have come in, so it's actually benefited me, and the people that come to the festival, they're getting benefits as well. So it's a win-win.
One of the people that is actually listening to us right now ran Tweetstock locally, and it was the same thing. We got to bring all of our media idols to an event that we organized and had basically a front row seat to that knowledge that we had basically other people pay for.
That's
And we
Yep.
then built businesses from that. It's like, that's what you do. I'm
Yep.
sorry, if you can get a bunch of people that are industry experts to come to your show and divulge information that they would normally not share with you, do it.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm sorry, do it and sell tickets, because
That's right,
that
yeah.
value is stellar.
Yeah,
In any industry.
Absolutely. And like, I've spent a lot of money bringing people in. I don't know if I've actually made that back yet, but just the value that it brings to the event, it's absolutely like just a couple years ago, our theme was music, and we had the Scream for Me Sarajevo documentary.
Yes, that is a perfect segue, sir.
And we brought
Tell me
in,
about that.
Yeah, so I had been following Scream for Me Sarajevo, I guess since it was announced that they were releasing the film, and so I contacted the producers and I said, look, if you're gonna submit to festivals, please, send something to Hamilton. I'm a huge Iron Maiden fan. You will have a home in Hamilton. This wasn't like, you're going to submit and we're going to jury it and decide whether it's going in. I'm like, if you send it to me, it is in, done. And so I tracked the progress, and time went by, and then we decided, it was in our 12th year, we were going to make the theme music for the festival. The theme was going to be music. I'm like, I need this documentary. Like, this is going to be an anchor of the festival. And turns out they were still on the festival circuit, and I reached out to the producer, and he's like, yep, let's do this. Let's do it in Hamilton. I'm like, if we do this screening, I'm going to get a metal band to open up for the documentary, and it's going to be the whole night. We're going to celebrate metal and the power of music, which is really what the documentary is about. And so, so it happened. And then, like, okay, what else can we do? And then I was following the members of the band at that from the Skunk Works era, and Alex Elena, the drummer at the time, he's all over social media. So I sent him an email, and the producer actually said, "Oh, you should contact Alex because he'll come down." So I said, "Alex, November 12th, you want to come down and or whatever the date was, November 2nd or something. You want to come to Canada?" And he had never been to Canada before. So he's like,
he had been to Sarajevo, but
Yeah, not to
survived
Canada.
Sarajevo. But
So I said, "Yeah, I'll get you a flight. I'll get you somewhere to stay. Come on down for a few days and do a Q&A and hang out and watch a movie." So he got on a plane and came to Canada, and we hung out for a few days, and he told us stories about the band, and it was great to
the PA system and all the other.
yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So it was wonderful to have him there at the screening, and we had a local band called Prismind open up. They did their original metal, but they also threw in 3 Maiden tracks. So
When I did the One Night Only, which was me revisiting an old style of podcast live in front of an audience, I had the same idea. I wanted to have a live band. And what a lot of people didn't realize, it was my 50th birthday party. So I was going to have music for my party. So I had two of the local artists that I know that do very good metal, and they're just a guitarist and a drummer. That's it. And I had them do the opening of Aces High. Actually, I had them do Aces High.
Yeah.
But more importantly, to open up the night, I had the then Speaker of the House, Dave Levac, who was the longest standing Speaker of the House, do a bit. He did 15 minutes talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but I said, at the end of it, you're going to be talking about veterans and a few veterans. I want you to shift into Churchill's speech. And he did the intro to Aces High.
No
So I literally had the Speaker of the House do Churchill's speech, and immediately the boys kicked into Aces High, and that's how I kicked off the night.
Oh, that's so great.
Okay, and I got it on video, and the best part is he's talking about how Churchill brought people together, and especially in light of current political environments, it was quite interesting. But yeah, the ability to pull that off that night, and it was just one of those stupid ideas I had. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to get a metal band.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to get Dave, who I didn't even invite yet at the time, and it's like, come on in and do this. Oh, and by the way, sneak this in. And it's like, yeah. That was awesome. So we are going to talk about something that we're both passionate about music.
Yeah.
We're both passionate about film. I do video editing as well. And trust me, I know the stories when you're dealing with, here's 2 terabytes of data on a disc, and there's 90 minutes of audio. And here's all these interviews we did. And you're literally using 5 seconds of a kid go Lansdowne, as part of the entire, a 10-minute interview with the kid, because that was the best bit, or you take, so I've been through all of that. But the one thing we also share, you know exactly what I'm talking. You've been there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But the point being is that's all I needed from that.
Right.
Is that little bit.
Yep.
It was better than everything else that was recorded for that bit. It summarized it perfectly. And that's years before you see that. The kids would go, let's just put the entire interview because, time. But in any case.